Hello everyone watching at home, welcome to round 4 of the coverage from the Adelaide Eternal Highlander Challenge for May. I am Sarven McLinton, in the booth here is Beckett Wolfe.
G'day guys.
So we have a match-up here between Snow White, not the name of the player, this is Brad Fielke, it's the name of the deck. The deck is Snow White, invented by McLinton, and on the left we have myself, and I am on Replenish or Omniplenish.
You're also got a player profile there in the whole of Euroswap, with a few too many wins, I think. Tell me about your list.
So, Replenish. Replenish is a combo deck. It has a very, very small control shell around it, but make no mistake, it is definitely not a control deck. You almost never win a game via control. The control elements are there to largely buy you time. It operates on the same principle as the gifts decks from Vintage from about 10, 12 years ago, maybe.
And so this is inspired by Gifts being recently depointed.
Yeah. Gifts was depointed. I'm like, I want to play control, so let's play control. And every time I rebuilt the deck, I'd constantly go from the ground up, start again each time, and every time I tried to make it an all-in combo deck, it was really bad. It would do the combo thing, it would be quite consistent, but it was so fragile, and it was the key, the nail in the coffin was it was just slower than Storm, slower than Reanimator, just not very good. However, with the control shell around it, you just buy heaps of time. With cards like Moat, for example, you can simply stall the board down, and then eventually, when you have access to enough mana, you can combo off. Now, comboing off occurs via one pretty much linear process every single time. You will cast Intuition or Gifts Ungiven, or some kind of way to find one of those cards, which is why Merchant Scroll was in the draft of the deck early on. And I'll tell you about that 7th point in a second, what I cut it for. You cast one of those at the end of your opponent's turn. You always find, without fail, Unburial Rites, the Rector, Academy Rector, and Cabal Therapy. No matter which way your opponent splits it, you find these 3 cards, you will always have Omniscience, without fail. So, with that in mind, once you have Omniscience out, you vomit the rest of your hand, and the rest of your hand will consist of other broken enchantments that cost way too much to cast normally, like the enchantment...
Cruel Reality?
Cruel Reality, yeah. I couldn't remember the name of that one. Cruel Reality, basically your opponent has to sacrifice a creature every turn, and if they don't, creature or planeswalker, if they don't, they take 5 damage. And it's just a really, really slow way of winning the game, because the deck doesn't actually win the game. What it does is it just seals the game up, and then you go, okay, like the writing is on the wall, you're going to die within the next few turns, and usually your opponent will concede. The catch is, make sure you don't ever go to turns, because you will get to situations where you're like, I definitely have this game locked up, there's no way you can win, and it just will actually have to take the course of, say, 5 turns. You go, we don't have 5 turns. So with this deck, you play very fast. The other cards in the deck are things that protect your combo. So stuff like Teferi Time Raveler is a new card, which against the control decks ensures that you're able to combo off with impunity, because you have some very hard counterspells. Unlike other dedicated combo decks that revolve around very cheap interaction like Daze and Flusterstorm to be able to combo off in the early game, you're comboing off in the late game, quite consistently mid to late game. So you actually want to cast powerful spells like Mana Drain, Counterspell, remand your own intuition at the end of their turn and replay the intuition at the end of the turn. These are the type of ways that you interact with your opponent, and of course Force of Will. The other packages that you get are usually packages that involve value. So packages such as Gift Ungiven for Lingering Souls, Liliana Last Hope, Snapcaster Mage, Mission Briefing, any of these kinds of things. But they're actually few and far between. Usually what happens is you deterministically find your Omniscience. Now that you have Omniscience, you might cast your Intuition, or the one that you didn't actually cast before, and you find something like Replenish, Snapcaster Mage, Lay Claim. And your Lay Claim, no matter which way they cut it, you're always going to Lay Claim their best permanent. Or you end up doing things where you cycle the Lay Claim, which is, gain control of target permanent, but it's got cycling too, and you cycle Cast Out, and then you just do that early game, so you treat them like cantrips, and then in the late game you find a way to get your Replenish, and then you cast some kind of bait spell, or sometimes you cast a Gift Ungiven with a split wherein no matter which way they go about it, you're going to be able to replenish, snap replenish, mission briefing replenish, or actually get given your one-way humility. And then you replenish and you return all the things, and you gain control of their permanent, exile their worst egregious offender, and your opponent's
really like
creatures
the
are
late
1/1s.
claim.
Yeah, the late claim was like really... it's such a bad card, and in this deck, it's really, really good.
But I mean, it's cycles, so it's like exactly what you want in the deck, and I don't think it's ever going to be that bad if you're cantripping with it.
It's basically just always a cantrip for you, and then you just always you always replenish it back, or once you have Omniscience out, you just hardcast it because it's for free, and you just go, I just take your Karn or take your Ugin or whatever they got. So that's essentially the summary of the deck. There will be a deck tech of it. You can go check it out. And if you, depending on which version of the deck I publish the deck tech, either way, this version of the deck has Enlightened Tutor in the sideboard. So your 7th point is in the board. You can choose to play Merchant Scroll in the main deck, but I went with Tutor in the board because you never want your enchantments in your hand. You always want them in the deck to tutor them out, or in the graveyard to replenish them. And Enlightened Tutor is really bad for that role, but in the sideboard, what you do is you go, whatever you play, I always bring Enlightened Tutor, except unless you're playing Control. And you're playing as aggro, and you just go, I'll just Enlightened Tutor for warmth, and play warmth on turn 2. And then your aggro opponent's like, that doesn't seem fair. It's just in no way fair. And then you could also draw the warmth. So like Enlightened Tutor becomes 2 copies of every Haymaker card you have in the board, like Enlightened Tutor for Moat, Enlightened Tutor for Porphyry Nodes, or Enlightened Tutor for Back to Basics against the Greed decks, Enlightened Tutor for Stony Silence or Null Rod, so you have 3 Null Rod effects against the decks, and I did that against the Rampy decks, and it was really, really, really punishing and really good. So that's the deck. Let's check out Snow White.
Snow White is Luke's...
It's his baby.
Yeah.
He's been like crafting this
really
deck
good.
through multiple different iterations, and it was originally kind of Hate Bearsy, and then it was Death and Taxesy, and then it became now more like mid-range. Yeah, like a really, really bizarre mid-range, and it's because I think he found that the Hate Bears versions or the smaller versions were good, but they could almost never compete with the sheer power level of slower decks in Highlander. So he wanted to go a bit more mid-rangey, and it turns out that was even better against Control than the Hate Bears were.
Yeah, and it was a lot better in the mid-range mirror than I think one would think, because all the cards are really, really good. Brad's playing Sol Ring over Pearl here. I don't think it makes too much difference. Sol Ring's better at powering out your biggest stuff. Pearl's, obviously colour specific. I think they're pretty interchangeable. But yeah, it's also really good like for sideboarding, because you can add in a lot of really great white hate pieces, and you can change the nature of your deck by putting in more mid-range cards and taking out more aggro cards, or even vice versa. I don't think it's got too much aggro in the sideboard, but a lot of people treat it like this Death and Taxes list with like 1-drops, and they think it's aggro with like Tried Militant, and you just take those out, increase your curve, and it's just like bomb after bomb.
Yeah, I think he was calling
like playing
tribal angels, and he was kind of going like angel. You answer them, and then by the 3rd time there's another angel. You're like, don't have an answer for that.
It's like playing Legacy Cube.
Legacy Cube, nice. All right, well let's go down to the match and see how this
cube
turns
in
out.
action.
The cube versus
someone
the combo
explained.
nonsense. So this is me resolving a London Mulligan.
London Mulls.
I'm on a Malta 6. So this is my hand. It's Grizzlebrand, Replenish, Liliana, 3 land and Moat. And I know the Moat's going to be great in this matchup, but I'm going to put away the Grizzlebrand because you want the Grizzlebrand in the deck. You don't want it in your hand.
Unless you've got Omniscience, yeah.
Yeah, once you have Omniscience, you actually cast Grizzlebrand and then you just go off. It's just insane. So yeah, that was a London Mulligan, and it didn't really do that much there, but having Grizzlebrand in my deck is not bad. Like it's a nice upside of the London Mulligan being able to put something back in for a combo deck that needs pieces in its deck when you need to. So turn one Mum is normally pretty scary, but in reality here, because I'm a combo deck, it's like, whatever.
I was about to say.
Because they're never going to turn it sideways, right?
Yeah, it's good versus the like control aspects. You know, it's not bad versus Lily, although it's not great versus Lily either, to be honest. It's sort of a bit at parity with Lily.
Yeah, Liliana Last Hope in this combo deck is part of the control package, and it's there to just get you to stay alive long enough, and they tend to focus a lot of their attention on it, and if they don't focus their attention on it, then you can just ultimate it and get a bunch of zombies, but yeah, I don't think I've ever won the fairway with this deck. It just doesn't happen. You just
doesn't happen at all.
Yeah. I think this whole day, out of all of my matches, I went something like out of my 10, what would it have been, 12 wins or something, 11 of them were comboing, and the 12th one was this weird game where True Name Nemesis just got me there, and it was...
So True Names is sort of for blocks in the mid-range?
Yeah, you just block. You just literally block all day.
3 for a 3-1 indestructible.
3 for a 3-1 indestructible. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just like a blocker. Now, I want to play Lily here and go up, and I just go, I hope you don't have Council Judgment, because there's just no real choice here. And so I'm going, okay, please don't have Council Judgment.
You know, even if he's got Councils, that would be the worst.
But he had actual Council's Judgment. Yeah, I said it to him, I'm like, please don't have Council's Judgment, and he had to have Council's Judgment.
Yeah, but at least he's not applying pressure here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, it's a card for a card, and turn 3 for a deck like this mid-range deck is very key turn.
It was mainly a bait.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if I resolve Moat, I'm pretty sure I win this game, because they're going to have it really... like, Brad's going to have a really hard time answering
Although, if any mid-range deck has more flyers, it's going to be the mono-white deck, because as we said, he's almost mono angel sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I was like, please don't have Council's Judgment. Has it, uses it on the Lily. I'm like, okay, that's all right. It doesn't go to my moat. Oh, wait a second. This doesn't go. This goes around my moat too. So Elspeth allows you to jump a creature, give it +3/+3 and flying every turn. So he's making a soldier, and that Mum is going to protect the soldier, and he's going to be able to jump it over the moat. I'm going to take 4 damage every turn.
Yeah, there's something to be said for jumping Mum, but I like making soldier because. Yes.
It's not all in.
Well, it's probably fine to swing Mum there because you're tapped out.
And he thinks I'm a control deck.
Yeah, but then the following turn you don't have protection.
So this turn is a critical decision. So I drew Intuition, allowing me to combo off. However, my hand is Lingering Souls and Mana Drain. If I Lingering Souls, I don't have either of the other two up, but I can block for a while, buying me more time, and I need access to 5 mana to combo. So when you Intuition for your 3 pieces, you need to ensure you have 5 mana so that no matter which way they split it, you can play the Academy Rector and cast Cabal Therapy from the graveyard, or you can play the Unburial Rites from your hand, which is 5 mana, or you can cast the Cabal Therapy from your hand and then cast Unburial Rites. All of these need 4 or 5 mana. If they split it one of the 2 out of the 3 ways, you need 5.
The mana drain makes it quite strong though, because you're able to mana drain something and then do it next turn. Yeah. Is this each? You can't draw an extra card?
Yeah, so you can't draw extra card. You can only draw 1 card a turn. It doesn't affect me at all. So, because Gifts Ungiven and Intuition put the card into your hand, you don't draw it. And the literal only thing it affects is like cantrips into the actual win, and Grizzlebrand, those kind of things. But once I have my enchantments out, I don't mind, because I can just actually gifts or do my Intuition and choose to get Cruel Reality, which is another way to end the game. But usually what will happen is I'll just get Omniscience and cast all my other spells. And so this is draining.
Yeah, I like Drain here because you can untap, you can use the 2 mana to play Lingering Souls, and then you get to have the best of both worlds, even if you don't hit the 5th
No, you just combo. So you get the mana, you could do the combo now. Because then you have Omniscience. Yeah.
Seems to work as well.
Yep. So I really didn't want to have to mana drain it because I could just play around the 3-1, and I wanted to mana drain the 3-drop he plays. So because he's got 3 mana up, and I'm like, okay, you probably have a Planeswalker. like a 3-mana Planeswalker. So that was my debate. Do I mana drain this and guaranteed get 2 mana, or do I mana drain your 3-drop? And I really wanted to do the latter. But if he just played it and passed and didn't play into my counterspell, I can't make this play. So I did the conservative line.
And is this Souls, or is this going for it with... Yeah, okay, Souls.
Yeah, so I'm going this way. I don't have to pay the flashback. So Omniscience means you do have to cast the flashback. You have to have the flashback mana. And remember, I don't have enough mana to do everything in one turn, because the mana drain lets you intuition.
Yeah, so this is what I was thinking you would do. You'd go Souls, and then you get the best of both worlds, because you can Souls and keep up intuition.
Yeah, intuition at end of his turn. So, and I'm live to land. I think top deck land is a good one. So this is a tricky spot. So you've got Moat out, and you're planning to combo off. So once I combo off, I get a one-way humility. So your opponent has a bunch of 1/1s that walk. If they're walking, they don't jump, they don't fly. And I can also...
But the Elspeth will still make them bigger.
Yeah. I've got a plan to try and lay claim the Elspeth. But because there's one thing I can do here, which is not intuition for the combo, but I can intuition for 3 enchantments, and I can just replenish next turn and get all of the enchantments. So this is an alternate strategy if you have replenish in hand, instead of going for Cabal Therapy, Rites, and Rector, you go for 3 Haymaker enchantments. You go for Omniscience, Cruel Reality, Lay Claim, or Omniscience, Overwhelming Splendor, Lay Claim. Any of those, and then when you go to your turn,
you'll need to hit the 5th mana. If you go for the combo, you need that 5th mana.
Exactly. So this is a even more conservative line that I'm taking. But then again, I'm playing a combo deck, and I'm playing really conservatively. That's the name of my game all the time, right? I've got this really cool all-in combo deck.
So that's Lay Claim, Omniscience, and one-sided Humility.
Yep. So if you haven't seen these in action before, Omniscience lets you cast anything from your hand, any way, shape, or form, for free. And one-way Humility, Overwhelming Splendor, is your opponent's creatures are 1/1s with no abilities, and they can't activate any abilities at all unless they're Planeswalker or Mana abilities. So they can activate Elspeth, but no matter what, I'm going to get myself a Lay Claim. That's the way that this goes. So if he puts Splendor and Omniscience in the bin, he doesn't know I have Replenish. So he gives me the Humble, the one-way Humility, and now I cast Replenish. So Replenish is kind of... Yeah, so here we go. This is how it works. This is how the deck works. It's pretty disgusting, right? So I cast Replenish, and I return Omniscience.
Does he
and
get
Lay
all
Claim.
his enchantments back? Because that's an enchantment creature.
That's a good question.
I think it comes up often?
It doesn't come up often. It means literally nothing because it's a 1/1. But you might have to look that up to see whether or not that actually happens.
What's he got in response here?
In response,
not too much in mono white.
Horizon Canopy, and draw a card. So here's Lay Claim. Lay Claim takes Elspeth, and I know everyone was looking at my Lay Claim and they're screwing their noses up, and I'm going, this is really good.
I think it's sweet.
Yeah, it's
sweet
tech.
It's cycle. People see them big mana cost, but you cycle it.
So now I have Overwhelming Splendor, Omniscience out. So from my hand, I just cast Teferi, Time Raveler. And
that's so good.
Yeah, Teferi, Time Raveler. And then I just cast him to Turak because why not? Note that I cannot cast the Lingering Souls from the graveyard. This is something that people often get confused with Omniscience. It's only from your hand, so I have to actually cast Flashback, and that happens a lot when you got Gifts on Unburial Rites if your opponent sequences it in a certain way. So we get rid of basically 2 cards that didn't really mean anything, because remember you got Moat out, so once Moat is out, Gideon Ally of Zendikar does pretty much literal nothing, and Path to Exile does nothing. If anything, it helps me because it kills one of my 1/1 flyers and gives me a land, and I'm okay with being on 5 land.
Yeah, I
once
think
Omniscience
Brad's
dies.
probably got nothing because you've got the humility, right?
Yeah. So the one-way humility also...
And Council's Judgment's already gone.
Yeah, it turns off... But it turns off creatures that would otherwise kill enchantments, because his out is to kill Moat. And even if he kills Moat, then he's only got 1/1s. And if he's got 1/1s, I trade all my spirits for his 1/1s. So it's not a problem.
Yeah, and your Teferi can even start bouncing tokens.
Yeah.
Because remember, Mum's not Mum
is just a
anymore. It's
1/1.
just a 1/1, so she can't protection.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is basically how the deck works. If you're interested in sleeving this deck up, what you want to do is just keep in the back of your mind that you want to basically always combo. So what helps you combo? Like, don't try to play the control game. I've tried it so many times to be like, oh yeah, so now I've got Teferi, Hero of Dominaria out. I'm going to grind and I'm going to start drawing cards. But the thing is, when you do that, you're
drawing combo
pieces. And you should really, really focus on using that Teferi in a certain way that will buy you more turns to enable a combo. And yes, there are situations where you get to a point where the game has stalled out long enough that you, instead of being a combo deck, you become a ramp deck. So once you're out on like 7 or 8 mana out, you just actually hard cast Overwhelming Splendor, and then you hard cast Cruel Reality, and then you hard cast Lay Claim. Like, you actually just hard cast these spells.
Oh, it's a very real threat, especially in a control versus control when the game's going to go late or mid-range in a grind, yeah.
It's unlike other combo decks that are low mana. So, like, you know how the combo decks want to be really streamlined?
Like Time Vault?
More like Storm. So, like, the amount of access to lands that they have is very, very low, because the other things that might produce mana or look for cards or, whatever the rest of the deck does, the glue that holds the rest of the deck together, wants to take advantage of a low land count so they can have a high spell count to do their comboing. Whereas this is the complete opposite. This is a combo deck that is like a vintage control deck of yesteryear, where you run like 23, 24 mana sources, and you basically have the mana base of a control deck. And because of that, you do actually just hard cast Grizzlebrand. You hard cast Cruel Reality. And sometimes the opponent's not expecting that, so they bring in like a Containment Priest in case I show and tell Grizzlebrand, or
slam,
and you're just like,
down.
Whatever, I don't care about Containment Priest.
There's plenty of good, like mode and stuff are very hard castable and
yeah,
very strong. I also like in your sideboard, we'll get it up there. In your sideboard, you've got a lot of artifacts, enchantments, which naturally pertain to. So this is what I'm bringing in. So I bring in Seal of Cleansing, Elesh Norn, Enlightened Tutor, Supreme Verdict, and Porphyry Nodes. Note that Enlightened Tutor... Oh, okay, here we go. Out is bad Teferi, bad, even worse Teferi, like anything that's slow. Lay Claim I take out, but it was a sketchy one. I was considering keeping it in, and it was mainly because I'm planning to grind the first 10 turns of the game. Like, ET into Moat, ET into Porphyry Nodes, just buy heaps of time. And Lay Claim is a combo card. It's not you don't actually interact. You never actually use Lay Claim to interact. You use it when you're going off to prevent them from untapping with something. So, like, they've got a Planeswalker that gets around your humility effect. So you go, well, I've already cycled this, so I will I'll replenish it back. Or it's in my hand, so now I'll use Omniscience and I'll get it's a free one sometimes, yeah.
But against aggro, it's a dead card. So you generally, because aggro is, aside from like a Planeswalkers, aggro is basically completely dead to your humilities and moats, so you just kind of out-combo them. So in this instance, I'm going to go ET into Porphyry Nodes turn 1, or ET into Moat. Moat is like the card I get the most often against aggro decks, and Supreme Verdict just shores up your gifts piles. So you can go gifts pile, not for combo, because you're so far behind. Because sometimes you combo off, you get Omniscience out, and then you die the next turn because they attack you. So instead you go Gifts Ungiven for Supreme Verdict, Moat, Toxic Deluge, Snapcaster Mage, or Toxic Deluge, Replenish, or something like that. And you just go to your turn, and they're like, I'm going to lose my creatures no matter what, so I'll make sure I don't give you Moat. So they'll put like Moat and Replenish in your graveyard. So then you now have 2 Wrath effects that they have to fight through.
Got Snap.
Yeah, and that buys you heaps of time. and then later on you Snapcaster back the gifts and combo off. So like it's a very, very different combo deck. It's super slow, super grindy, but then you have like this high level of inevitability.
So it looks like we're shuffling up. We didn't really get to go through Brad's sideboard.
Yeah, it looks like Brad's mulling. But here's my hand, and then we'll look at Brad's mulls. So I've got a
Show and Tell Grizzlebrand.
Show and Tell Grizzlebrand.
With the counterspell and Collective Brutality, and even a little True Name Nemesis as a backup. Yeah. It's a real keeper.
It's a sneak. Because I'm on the draw, I keep it. Because remember, I'm a mana-hungry deck, so I really need to hit like 4 mana, 5 mana.
How many lands are you playing?
23, 24, something like that. So, because it's so mana hungry, a 2-land hand is really risky, like incredibly risky. But because I'm on the draw, I keep it. If I was on the play, I would not keep this hand. Because so much can go wrong. Like, so much. Whereas I'd rather have a hand with like 4 land and a moat. I'm happy with that.
I think it's fine. Like, you have to keep it. He's not really... I mean, he's got some pretty cool things that could get Show and Telled in. Yeah, but it's gonna be hard for him to interact with Show and Tell bar Containment Priest or something like that.
Well, being on the draw means I get three turns to hit my land drop, which is very, very good. And this is a Selfless Spirit. I go, does this do anything to me? No, that's fine. Like, sure.
Selfless Spirit is sack to give Indestructible?
Sack to give Indestructible, yeah.
Or is that the sack to exile? Is that Remorseful Cleric?
Remorseful Cleric is exile graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one here is a second land, and
you hit your island there, I see.
Yeah. So I've got island. I've also got mana up to have counterspell here. So as you can see,
Brad's drawing pretty well. You know, it's
oh yeah, Sol Ring is huge. Like playing a 4-drop here will be crazy. Massive. Like a Planeswalker. The things I'm concerned about are Planeswalkers, like this Planeswalker, because if there's a Planeswalker, it gets around Humility, the overwhelming splendor.
So this will be a very nice counterspell there. No thought to counterspelling Sol Ring itself for backup plays?
Nah, literal no.
Is that because
just wouldn't do it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like
I agree. I wouldn't either, but
in a different against like a tempo deck, if I'm playing tempo, I would consider it because it's so powerful, right? But because I'm combo, I just go, I will only interact with anything that interacts with me or my combo. I will ignore everything else. So here's Counterspell. This is like literal, actual Counterspell, right?
I'm trying to think if he's really got anything. I mean, Path to Exile maybe for Grizzlebrand.
Yeah. I 100% do not play Show and Tell on turn 3 here. Like, there is no world in which I will ever do that. Because if he untaps and plays Path to Exile, or Council's Judgment, all of which I know he's 100% going to have because he knows...
But then you could arguably go down to 5.
Yeah. I mean, have in his deck, but yeah.
You could pay 7 life and assume you're taking 2 to be on 5 life.
I don't want to do that.
But you've got heaps of cards in hand.
Nah.
I guess you're not a Storm deck, so the cards in hand are all expensive.
Because then what's my game plan? Start to try and block. Like, it's really, really hard. So yeah, I definitely do not do it. So it's just because of the way the deck plays out. So a lot of people are really gung-ho with their show and tells. The only time I ever show and tell is when I have Omniscience and I have something else to follow it up in hand, and then I go like show and tell Omniscience, and then they put in some fatty, and then I do something else. But this here is using the mode of look in your hand. So this is how conservative I'm being. I'm pitching the Replenish to kill his pressure, and then I'm targeting him to ensure there's no Council's Judgment or Path to Exile. Because I know that if neither of them are in hand, then, and there's no like not even Baneslayer Angel, there's no something that punishes me off the show and tell, then when I untap and I play it, I've dodged one draw step, and with Grizzlebrand out, I like 100% win. Whereas if I show and tell there, I would like 75% win, you know? Like, there's a 25% chance he has Path to Exile or Council's Judgment. Like, something that doesn't gain me life. If it's Swords to Plowshares, I don't care. That's great. Sure.
Yeah, I think Swords doesn't do it, does it?
Yeah.
Because you can just pay 7 and go to 12.
Yeah. This is the kind of combo deck for a player. If you're playing at home and you're thinking about playing it, this is not the kind of combo deck that for a player that likes to go balls to the wall turn 2, turn 3. This is the kind of combo deck that control players will like. You're really, really, grindy, inevitability, and you set yourself up to a position where you're like, there is literally no way I can lose now. But to do that, you have to be super patient. And then all of its lines become largely deterministic. And they're deterministic except for the 1 in 47 chance of you top decking the Omniscience after you cast Intuition or something like that. These are things that can happen. Very, very low likelihood, but they can happen. The 2%.
So is Brad here just being efficient with his mana, or is he thinking maybe you don't have any basics because you're like a complicated looking deck?
It's definitely the latter. So he's like, maybe I'll get you, and he correctly hits the black source because he's like, well, if you have Liliana in your deck, that's double black. You probably don't have basic swamp, so I'll hit your black source. In reality, my deck has like 7 basics.
Is it because you're just such a dog to Blood Moon?
So
because you're in a triple colour deck with no red?
Guess what? I run back to basics in the side. So I actually actively am happy with...
That's probably coming in here because it's a mid-range deck.
I didn't bring it in because he's on
mono white.
Mono white, yeah. So, but yeah, there are definitely times where you go, like, you don't want to get Blood Moon, but you can definitely play through Blood Moon, no probs. So here it is.
Whose is better?
Well, who wore it better? Stoneforge Mystic or Grizzlebrand? The show and tell was worn better by Grizzlebrand. And this is the old play Grizzlebrand, pass, do nothing. Because you don't, like... a lot of people will just activate Grizzlebrand here, but that's absolutely and strictly incorrect in Replenish. Because you can't do anything with it. So you draw and you go, okay, what do I do?
That's right, it's not
Let's do nothing.
It's not Storm. I play Grizzlebrand in Vintage, and I'm often passing, and sometimes it gets sorted, and you just pay 7 in response. And
exactly.
You untap and win anyway.
That's it. That was the window for him to draw Path to Exile. So if he Path to Exiles off the top of the deck, and he hits my Grizzlebrand...
Path not terrible, because then he gets to connect with Sword.
He connects with Sword, he triggers it, he draws a card, he deals me 5 damage, and he actually presents a clock, in which case I can't actually draw... I can draw 7, go to 2, but then I need to find Moat or Supreme Verdict or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. So, like, that was his one possible out, one possible turn. But either way, I had Force of Will on top, it appears. So, even if he did draw Path and I activate Grizzlebrand in response, I draw Force of Will and counter it anyway. But here is, Grizzlebrand attacks for 7, I gain 7 life, and I draw 7 cards.
Probably just keep up Mana Drain Force here, right?
It's my game to lose.
Play a land and discard their hand size and go.
Yeah, you can play Baleful Strix, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Baleful Strix here is just a cantrip. It doesn't do anything to the Sophie wielding Stoneforge, but it's literally just to cycle through the deck, try and find a, Snapcaster Mage, because at the end of my turn, if I've got...
Okay, so just...
Seal of Cleansing there just denies the draw of card draw, and I can actually block the Stoneforge Mystic with my Baleful Strix, and... I discard a bunch of cards. I have Force of Will up now.
Yeah, I guess it deals with his entire board, right?
Yeah, so I've just got Force of Will up for Swords to Plowshares or Council's Judgment, and that's why I'm okay with tapping out. So
yeah, and I suppose if he's got two force-worthy threats here, the chances that even if they're force-worthy, they beat the Grizzlebrand, and even if they do, then he's got absolutely no gas whatsoever, right?
Yeah, speaking of no gas, he has drawn land, I think. So, as you can see, the Soul Ring, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lands, basically 7 mana sources, and he can't really connect with the Sophie. That's his chances to connect with the Sophie. Yeah. Because if he can draw a card.
That's a shame. The Snow White deck's actually very, very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
You just had it.
Yeah, I was like, don't feel bad, because even if you did have a deck that obeyed you, there was Force of Will just waiting for whatever it was. So that's how the Replenish deck plays out. So it's got.
It's really good to see it actually, work with all the cogs turning and everything working smoothly. It's really good.
Yeah, it's a very, very fun deck.
Yeah,
and it's not as cognitive as you think. A lot of the time, people be like, combo deck's too hard. It's actually kind of got a number of lines. Once you memorize the 3 or 4 different lines that you use in different situations, and you memorize how to sideboard and leverage and Enlightened Tutor, the 7th point in the board, it actually makes a lot of sense, and it's quite easy to play. It's the control player's combo deck.
Here's Brad showing us what he was siding in.
Yeah.
I'd say, fair enough. Rest in peace for sure against a gifts deck and intuition deck.
Yep, rest in peace is a nightmare for me. So
artifacts, enchantment, destruction, and general removal of O-ring. I'd agree.
That's it. I have to actively use my ET to find Seal to kill the rest in peace, and by that point he's put so much pressure on me that I just die. So, but he's got the answers for the moat, which is nice. He's got enchantment answers in the Sundering Growth. And then I showed him the other stuff that I brought in.
Elish Norn.
Yeah, Elish Norn's a good sideboard card. He just gives Unburial Rights that, and it's operating like a Supreme Verdict, basically.
Yeah, you could even go Gibbs Pile with Show and Tell in it as well.
Yeah.
And then they can
sequence them in really bad ways against you. So a lot of the time with your gifts piles, you play the conservative option almost always. So your gifts, if you're going to gifts for the combo, you will gifts for exactly 3 cards, and you just don't even get your 4th card just because something can screw you up. They leave you with 2 pieces in your hand and you can't get one of them out, or they counter one.
Do you run Thirst for Knowledge to put that in your pile, so if they put it in your hand, you can get the rest in the bin?
I don't, but I'll definitely entertain it. Sweet. So I'm glad you got a chance to see the deck in action. Commiserations to Brad. Brad played well with what he was dealt, but he was dealt a pretty bad hand as well. So let's wrap it up there, and we will see you back in round 5, and some of us will be progressing on to the finals.
See you then.